I'm preparing to live stream the meeting. I'm going to stop my video so I'm out of the way, and I'm going to mute.
Hello everyone to the Engine-ius film review here at some. I apologise, we're a few minutes late due to some. Thank you for tuning in. To say that the Engine-ius film review runs once a month on the second Monday of every month, and I'm the assistant producer at Somerset Film. We are I would like to introduce you to my guests. Shane, if I can start with you, if you want to introduce yourself and say a few words.
Hi there. Well, first, hi both of you. First up, Alicia, you're a little bit, I don't know if it's buffering, but I'm having some issues with sound from you. A bit stuttery, maybe it's. So anyway, I'm assuming you can hear me okay. Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm a crew member. I was invited as a crew member for Rage Against Rubbish, so I'm very, very involved in the issues with wider environment, plastic, and biodiversity loss. My main hobby is a wildlife photographer. I also do surveying and recording of all the species I see on my wanders around the countryside. Yeah, what else can I say? I think that's it for now.
Well, okay, so I'll introduce myself. I'm James Price, filmmaker, animator, musician. I work quite closely with the Engine Room, various projects and workshops with young people and adults, BFI Film Academy, various animation projects, music projects, and currently there's music projects running in Hull. So we're doing that via Zoom as well, so that's interesting. And now this, excellent. So how's my streaming coming across? Is the streaming working this way?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Just yourself, Elisa, you're a little bit...
Let's try this. Can you hear me better now?
A little bit gone, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we can definitely hear you better, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll keep my video off for a little bit. As long as you guys can hear me, that's better, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me, you two. It's so exciting. I know I had a quick chat with Shane on the phone before the event, and you touched on kind of preaching to the choir a little bit when it comes to environmental issues.
True, yeah.
But I think it's wonderful because although we are I'm sure all allies when it comes to climate change, we do all come from different backgrounds. So of course, we've got you, Shane, from Rage Against Rubbish. We've got the filmmaker and animator, James, and then I'm assistant producer. So we do all kind of have different angles. I'm really excited to hear what we all thought of the film. I do want to give a short synopsis. So we are reviewing today The Red Turtle, directed by Michael DeWitt, who worked in collaboration with the infamous Studio Ghibli to co-produce this animated film, which is about a man who finds himself stranded, seemingly, on a desert island. And he comes to live on this island only to try and escape it by building multiple rafts. But he keeps being pushed back onto the island by this red turtle that just won't let him leave. And finally, with an astonishing twist, the man finds his life on the island turning out much different than I'm sure he had assumed. So I would like to start, Shane, if you could give us your thoughts on the film. What did you make of it? Did you like it?
The first thing I noticed is without dialogue, it really opens up your own mind to interpret what's happening, emotionally with the man, as the story progresses, how he's dealing with things. it appeared at first that he didn't really have that much confidence and knowledge of how the outside world works. He's afraid of certain animal noises, I think, and when he ventured into the woods, he was very, very fearful of the unknown. Yet, having said that, he was a bit reckless in the way he was behaving around things. He just mindlessly jumped into the pool, not knowing what could be lurking within, especially after his experience in the sea. The whole scary scenario. The way he treated animals, you know, the crabs, although they technically his only, to use something, but I don't know, his only friend, his only,
yeah.
That's why I saw it. Yeah, at times it was when he built. Sorry, I lost it. When he built his raft, because all he wanted to do was get out and get back to his normal life. He built his raft, and yet again, you know, an animal came along. Well, we assume it's an animal because he couldn't see nothing, so he led to believe it was a turtle. He went back and took his frustrations out on the crab. And then later, when he did feel that it was the turtle that was knocking him out of the boat, he took his frustrations out on the turtle, not realizing that things were going to pan out, I suppose. Well, I've never done a film review or Zoom, so there's my nervousness coming out. Do you want me to carry on about, you know, the whole sort of film?
Well, I think that's a perfect summary. Well, what we'll do is we'll go back and forth. I think also, I suppose I should say as well, potential spoilers to anybody who's watching who hasn't seen the film yet. We do want to get into the nitty gritty of it, so it's likely that we will reveal some parts. So don't worry if you do. But that's perfect. I think there's a lot of themes there already coming up. Jane, what do you make of this arguably quite unique film?
Okay, let's get some of the basic stuff out of the way first. I thought the animation and the artwork was amazing. I'm slightly colorblind, so I find so some of the colors that were used for me looked amazing. So I'm imagining they are amazing for everyone else. So that was amazing. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the film. Yeah. It was really interesting, like Shane said, about there being very little, well, there was no real dialogue at all. There were often grunts and people shouting occasionally, just calling out when they were looking for people. But yeah, absolutely no dialogue whatsoever. And I thought that was great. And just to be able to tell a story through visuals alone, fantastic. Yeah, and the amount of different metaphors and different ideas in the film I found was remarkable. There's a moment where once the girl appears, he goes looking for her because she's she's appeared and then disappeared. And there's just odd little shots where he's along the beach and you can see the raft in the very distance behind him, as if to symbolize that he's even, you know, in a small detail that he's not considering the raft anymore. He's left it behind and it's there in the distance. Similarly, when the raft is being built and he's turned the turtle upside down, there's this shot from above where you see both the turtle and the raft next to each other, side by side. And it makes you think about how mankind tends to just look at, now I need to build this, I need to get off the island, the turtles being a problem, so I shall deal with it. Do you know what I mean? And not think forward. From that moment, I need to do this and I'm doing this now. So it's incredible stuff. It's all the way through the film. There are references, little shots that told a bigger story than what you're just looking at.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. Also, you enjoyed it as well then, James?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I really like what you touched on there. It's I think this film does a really good job of not being too on the nose with its symbolism.
Yeah, totally.
I think some of the parts, for example, how the when they're kind of exploring the island, first the father and then later, spoiler, his son, and they both fall into that deep hole that they kind of have to find their own way out of it. Although that was probably the most obvious symbolism, I would argue, of rebirth, how they have to push through that birth canal and they come up through the water gasping for breath, just like a newborn child. I do think there were more subtle hints too. I was wondering with the film if there was, if we start again with you, Shane, was there any line or any scene that particularly stood out to you?
For me, it was the connection that the man had with the lady as opposed to the form of the turtle. His lack of connection with wildlife, for example, in this circumstance, became apparent that he didn't care too much about the turtle's well-being. He started to feel a little bit guilty, I guess. I don't know what caused that. But as soon as things changed, as you'll know, a lot of you don't, he saw this lady and he had to build her a shelter and he wanted to give her water and to look after her. And it's just that he had a connection with another human as opposed to an animal, and it's something that really struck a chord with me, that his priority was the humanity as opposed to the larger environment.
Yes, absolutely. I thought the symbolism of the turtle was so special and how it kind of so closely explores our relationship to nature directly, and how she almost sacrifices herself for him, and then through the way you mentioned, Jane, how he beats her and leaves her for dead, essentially. It's kind of symbolic of our misunderstanding of it, which I thought was really powerful. And the kind of that, you get a sense of remorse, don't you, afterwards, but it's too late, he thought. But that's perfect. That's really interesting. Thank you, Shane. And what about you, James? Any lines or anything?
Well, I sort of really liked the connection between, like, the turtle is one of the oldest species on the planet. And life tends to have evolved from the sea or from water. So the turtle comes from the sea, comes up onto land, lays eggs, goes back to the sea. So I love the way the connection was made between life and the ocean and the whole cycle of life. Similarly, when the sun leaves, the sun decides, because all young people leave home. So the island was a home. Out on the ocean is like a pathway between other homes, I imagine, other islands. And it's just as if the son needs to leave to find his journey, and he goes back out into the ocean again. And it struck me as that maybe that's where the father was in the beginning, was that he was coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole life cycle thing happening, and the turtles, evolution, it's all there somewhere. I think it's all connected. Some great, it just struck me as really moving, I think.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely had to hold back some tears when I rewatched that.
So I don't know, it's just, so the question, it leaves me with questions, which is great, because if a film doesn't, I think it's not, it's not really stimulated you too well. But there's the question is like, was the father coming from another island somewhere? Was the sea a place of birth? Was he shipwrecked? Was he coming from somewhere else? The son's following the same journey, and then you wonder what will happen to the son afterwards as well. Yeah,
that's right. It's so interesting, and I love how the son, especially his relationship, how he doesn't. I don't know if you noticed, but when he leaves the island, he doesn't need the raft. he just kind of goes into the ocean with the turtles, and it's kind of that cyclical kind of father to son relationship of he's kind of done a good job, hasn't he? Because he's raised him to be more acclimatized and in tune with nature than maybe he was when he was his age.
And the use of sort of fantasy, really. The turtle turns into a young lady. When she's older, she turns back to a turtle. And in some ways, it's strange to see that, and think about how that works.
Yeah.
Symbolism and stuff like that. And then you wonder whether the turtle was ever there, whether the woman was ever there. Is it important?
I read a wonderful quote that described the film as wide-eyed, muted, whimsical charm with a light washing of eco-mysticism, which I thought. I think, Shane, it was you that touched on already the sound. Did you have any feelings, whether it be positive, negative, or neutral, about the use of sound in the film? I imagine in your work with Rage Against Rubbish, you probably, and your wildlife photography, you're probably quite familiar with sort of kind of natural sounds that permeated the film.
Yeah, I think I'm in the luxury of being exposed to so many natural sounds anyway, but there's never any fear of any sound I hear that's non-human, as it were. Yeah. There's nothing that sort of frightens me. It just leads me to what is that? The world of thunder. I want to know what's making that noise. Even how is it making that noise? That's because I've kind of always been around the outdoors.
Yeah.
I think that the man in the film, I'm not sure how much exposure he had to the outdoors, and obviously being dumped into an environment like he was, everything was going to be scary. And I dare say, if I was in the same situation, I'd be as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some great use of sound. I remember, if you recall, when he first arrives on the island, he wanders into the wooded area, and then there's this faint hissing sound that's growing louder and louder, and then suddenly it pours with rain, as if it's his first experience of hearing rain coming through the canopy. And at the very end, when he passes away, I don't know if you noticed, but he was listening to crickets, or there were cricket sounds or insect noises, and they just suddenly stopped. And at that moment, she sat up and realized that he'd passed away.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I also loved how, although it was a combination of Dutch and Japanese production, I really thought that you had wood and bamboo and percussion going on throughout it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some fantastic bamboo sounds, aren't there? When after the tsunami, he's up and jumping around on those actually rather dangerously spiky bamboo pieces. I wouldn't do that barefooted, I don't think. But there were some great sounds there. But most of all, what I loved about the film, I think, is its sort of reference to this man that's arrived on, you could almost say, a paradise place, really. He's got everything you need. Obviously, he's got no company, so that makes it not paradise, I imagine. So you've got water, food, so he's got everything he needs, but all he wants to do is go somewhere else, find something new. I think that's probably quite an obvious point at mankind always trying to have something more than they really necessarily need.
Yeah.
You've got
greediness
right there. So yeah, it's just that stuff, really. He finally finds a partner or someone to have the experience with, and then forgets all about going somewhere else. So at the end of the day, I think the film was based, for me, how it spoke to me was that basically all you need is love. I know that's a Beatle lyric, but it did sum that up really in the end for me. As long as you have that, what else do you need?
Absolutely. It was also beautiful how I think, although the turtle sacrifices, or nature almost sacrifices or gives herself to him, it was interesting to me how actually only through his treatment of her, she was able to kind of, well, he tapped into her potential, her untapped potential of life-giving, and they create this whole other being only through their interaction, that symbiosis. I thought, Shane, maybe you were quite pleased to see the only bit of rubbish was a glass bottle.
It was utilized, you know, the child worked out quite quickly that it had a use and she had some importance.
Yeah.
That was the only bit of rubbish there, so it was
Yeah, there was.
The story was about, was it?
It's the dream, isn't it?
There's a couple of things for me. Was that so basically it was a message in a bottle, wasn't it? Because he held it up to the horizon and the fresh water in there lined up, and he was constantly looking at this is the young boy, of course, the son, and he's constantly looking, and I think the message in the bottle was that you need to go now, you know, you need to leave. That was interesting. And the only thing for me was that I thought that the overturned lifeboat at the very beginning was not needed.
That's interesting.
Because in terms of like its fantasy and its the mystery around it, was that the upturned lifeboat at the beginning actually points very directly at a shipwreck. I'm not sure it needed that, because
That's
it would.
really interesting.
I feel like it might have been nicer to not know too directly where the man had arrived from, so it could be a mystery as to how and why he was in the water. Similarly to when his son leaves. I mean, we know why he's in the water, what he's doing now, and it's just a life raft sort of. It's not quite in context for me, but
it kind of spoke or went against. Oh, sorry, James. I think it kind of went against maybe the minimalism that we get so comfortable with when watching the film, both the brush strokes and the colors. And yeah, I do see where you come from, that all of a sudden there's this lifeboat that just seems a bit.
Yeah, it could have been a log, I think. You know, that's who am I to say? I didn't make a film, and I haven't made a film like that. So I've got nothing really to say about that. But the washes, the sort of, I don't know what they must have used, watercolor or whatever for the background. It's just incredible, really lovely.
Yeah, and interestingly, when the son rescues the dad, spoiler alert, he is propped up by a branch in the end, almost like his lifeboat, which is a kind of lovely way to come full circle, I think. I also thought one of the things that stood out to me personally was how when you see the couple swimming, they swim like turtles, which I can't help but think would be very difficult to do, but it did look very beautiful.
It's all very turtle connected, isn't it? Because the son swims like a turtle, he leaves with turtles. The turtle is keeping the man from leaving. So.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so interesting to hear what you all thought. If you had to give your very own rating of this film, Shane, what would you give it?
I probably have to, if I watched it again, I think that would change.
Oh, sorry, Shane, I'm just struggling to hear you. I think maybe your mic is covered.
I'm holding the laptop in the lap. Is that better?
A little bit. Sorry, go ahead.
I'd probably, having seen it once, I'd probably rate it about a 6 or 7. I think if I watched it again, I'd have more time to absorb all the information that's coming at me. Like I said before, there was no dialogue, so you really have to translate a lot more, or that it opens up the opportunity to translate a lot more what's happening visually and with the story.
Yeah.
So there is a lot going on, but for a film with no talking, there's a lot going on there. Fantastic.
Definitely. I hope
probably going to watch
No, I completely agree. This was actually my second time watching it, and I think it just gets more and more beautiful and more striking. But you said about a 6 to 7, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely. And James, what about yourself?
I knew you were going to ask me to rate it as well. Then I think I would probably give it easily an 8, even to begin with. And maybe that's because also it's sort of the subject sort of touches on something that I'm sort of quite, that I'm quite concerned about. And I think that it's the subject really that sort of why I would give that an 8. Probably even a 9 if I watched it again. I'm sure there's stuff I've missed in it. But any film that sort of touches on sort of life cycles and the meaning of life, and it did it in quite a sort of non-religious but quite a spiritual type of sense, really, I think. And I think that's important for me as well. So yeah, 8, maybe 9.
8, maybe 9. Very strong. Well, I chose this film, so I give it a solid 73 out of 55.
73 out of 55.
That's right. I love this film. I think for me, very official rating, approved by the Academy, of course.
Okay, so if you really like this film and it's something you chose, Elisa, so what's your favourite moment?
I think for me, the favorite moment, I think, was when I realized that I don't know if you saw the little crab. So at first the crab is pulling what we assume is a deceased baby turtle out of the ocean to eat it. And then later on, that very same crab, we imagine, it gets eaten by a seagull. And it's that kind of, like you said, that life cycle imagery that I love. And I read in a review actually that it's as if death is as present as life, and that relationship is represented by the closeness of kind of the marital relationship, how it's very deeply connected. I think that was my favorite part, just that kind of full circle. And also, same as you all, I am super passionate about the environment, sustainability, which brings us back to you, Shane, because I'd like to end today's review with, if you could give us a little bit of information about Rage Against Rubbish, and if there is still an opportunity to get involved. This film was chosen because, although it's not directly about plastic, it is about protecting our environment and taking care of it, really. So is there a way that we can get involved?
Well, due to the COVID-19 situation, obviously we've put on how...
Sorry, Shane, I'm really struggling to hear you, sorry.
Don't know where my mic is.
That's much better.
I don't know why I've not moved.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, go ahead.
How's that?
Yeah, great.
Right, well, I've not done anything different. Yeah, due to the COVID-19 situation, we currently can't. We're reviewing things as we move forward. Because we work generally on a towpath, it's a little bit just too awkward for social distancing, and we're obviously handling a lot of other people's waste. But hopefully, when the restrictions are lifted and we deem it to be safe for our volunteers and ourselves, we meet once a month at the YMCA. So you can get the information on the Rage Against Rubbish website, which I don't know how to link to, but we've got a Facebook page and a Twitter page. So look at Rage Against Rubbish, and all the arranged litter picks we have each month on foot. And if you want, you can use one of the kayaks that we can use, so you can get in the canal and just help us out and help. I mean, it's really enjoyable in the water anyway. It's a really peaceful place to be. You get to see lots of wildlife and bottles and crisp packets and that, but you can do a good thing for the environment. So yeah, just check out the website or Facebook page, and just keep an eye out for, look out for dates and come along.
So that's fantastic. You arrange all that, and you do all that voluntarily?
Yes. Yeah, it was started by three people from Bridgewater, that they were out kayaking one day, and they just started to notice a lot of rubbish along the canal. So they thought, well, let's pick it up. And then they went out the next time, I think, and picked up more. And they thought, well, let's make this regular. And then they gained a bit of interest, and people wanted, well, how can we help? How can we help? So they ended up getting quite a big following. And I think sometimes last year we were having up to 40 volunteers each month.
Fantastic. So so you're having a real impact visually, at least.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, and a lot of the idea is, the tighter we can make it, and the more enjoyable the canal certainly can be, more people are going to use it and get exposed to just being outside, really, and just enjoying the countryside that we have. Because it is beautiful along the canal, right through Bridgewater. So the more people that can use it, then it can be supervised, and the people that are making a mess, won't go there so much possibly, but.
It must be frustrating though. It is for me. It's like, if I wish that every single person that watched a film like Red Turtle took something away and completely changed maybe what they do. And not to point any fingers or anything, but some people leave rubbish around, and it's true.
That's right. Well, it is.
Take it home with you.
Yeah.
It's the strange thing, isn't it? Everybody takes rubbish somewhere.
Yeah.
They've taken it to that destination in a heavy bag full of food and drinks, whatever. It's lighter when they go home. So what's the big deal with taking it home? Everybody pays.
Yeah.
Pay for disposal on that, but as long as it's there, there'll be people like myself and Rage, and there's people all over the country, all over the world, that are trying to make a difference. And hopefully the tide will turn eventually.
Shane's even brought it into his house.
This is someone else's house.
The trees behind you look similar to some of the ones.
The wallpaper, this is going to have badgers coming out of it, and owls and various other things. Eventually, when the room's finished, this is going to be. I think this is going to be the badger room. I think it was at the fox room. I don't know.
Excellent.
But I mean, just things like just trees on wallpaper. If you've got a little bit of the countryside in your house, it just grounds you a little bit and can calm. Just bring a little bit of peace. But
I think that's what I liked about the film so much. Really, is it just basically says, look, here's everything you need. It's natural. You don't need to disturb things too much or at all if necessary.
I do want to briefly touch on, sorry to interrupt there, James, just before we go. Once again, as we said, it is Plastic Free July. Somerset Film are engaging with it. We are running a social media focus campaign, and every day, Monday to Friday, we are posting something related to staying plastic free. So if any of our viewers have any tips they'd like to share with us, or anything they are doing to stay plastic free. Also, I would add to Shane's statement as well that although the Rage Against Rubbish group themselves can't be going together, there's nothing to stop you or me or any of us from going on when we have spare time, and just going to make our space more beautiful, more clean, and safer for the environment and the wildlife.
So even doing that little thing I did yesterday, we were leaving the beach, and this piece of plastic kept staring at me. I just thought, I know we haven't brought that, but we just might as well pick it up. So we take home a little bit more than we took with us. And it's no effort, is it? It's just like there was a little bottle top next to it, so I thought I'd take that as well then. But and off we go. And if everybody did that, took a little bit more than they took with them, it's like there wouldn't be a problem, I don't think.
That's right. That's absolutely right. On that positive note, I would encourage anybody. Thank you, guys. I'd encourage you all to visit our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, of course. And if you would like to be on the Somerset Film Review, we are open to everybody. The only requirement is that you are passionate about film. So drop us an email at info@somersetfilm. And I would like to also just give a heads up that the next film review is August the 10th, which as always is the second Monday of the month. And it is at 1 p.m, so just in time to have your lunch. And I would, before finally, very, very finally, say a huge thank you to both of my guests. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, James. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure. So what's the next film review? Which film is it, do you know?
Well, we don't know yet, so keep your eyes peeled to our social media.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah.